Hi everybody, welcome to Curiosities Curio Talks presented by Young Academy of India, YAI. Today with us we have Professor Aniket Sule. Professor Aniket is Associate Professor working at the Science Education at Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education, that is HBCSE, that belongs to TIFR, that is Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in Mumbai. Aniket is also working as General Secretary of International Olympiad on Astronomy and Astrophysics, that is IOAA, very important organization of international repute. International Olympiad, as you know, it's targeted to the school students, so to incite the curiosity in young minds. Professor Aniket is also working as chair of International Astronomy Education Committee, that is NAEC, of the International Astronomical Union's Office of Astronomy for Education. That's a privileged position, I would say. He's also working as chair of Public Outreach and Education Committee of Astronomical Society of India. Excellent. Lots of astronomy related outreach activity Professor Niket is into. And also he holds Dr. Rare Nat from University of Potsdam with work in the area of computational solar astrophysics. So we are really privileged to have you here with us, Professor Aniket. Welcome to Curio Talks. So this program has used to be called Young Science Leader Series, YSL, and from today onwards, we are changing the name to the Curio Talks in line with all of our other programs. That is something to do with the curiosity, to incite the curiosity in young mind. That is our, our idea behind all these talks. And today, with me, co-moderator of the session is, Nithya. Miss Nithya Kriti is doing, final semester of BSc Honors in Biotechnology at Government Degree College in the suburbs of Hyderabad in Telangana. Over to you, Nithya.
Thank you, sir. A very warm good evening to all the viewers. So before I begin with today's session, I would like to wish Felix a very belated happy birthday. I hope Felix celebrates such wonderful birthdays in coming years and introduce wonderful programs for many students all over the world. And today we have Assistant Professor Aniket Sule, sir. Very good evening, sir.
Good evening.
And yes, sir. So, would you please share your story and your family and early childhood before we begin with the session?
So, I'm basically from Mumbai. In school, I was a bit studious in a sense. I had interest in many subjects. Was interested in maths. I did not know physics or science. I was not interested at as much in the early stage, and but I was interested in astronomy. In Mumbai, there was or there still is, amateur astronomers club called Khagol Mandal, and some of my seniors in the school used to go there to that club for their weekly sessions, and they told me, "Why don't you come along?" So when I was in grade 5, I first went to that club, and I'm talking about time like early 1990s, where we did not have internet in India, or internet was not very common. Some government agencies had internet, but not where public internet access was not there. And on TV, we had just only two TV channels. So there were not many sources of information if you want to read up about some subject. So, and when I went to that Khagol Mandal, this had dedicated library of 500 astronomy books, which was like a very big thing for me. So, and generally I like reading books, literature books, and all kinds of books, not just literature but science, non-science, non-fiction, fiction, everything. So once I got hold of that library, I kept going there every week just to read the books. For the first couple I was in class 5, so I did not understand much of the discussions which used to happen in the club. I was too young for that, but they had books, astronomy books for my age group as well. So I just kept reading those books, and so I got interested. Then I thought, okay, if I will become a volunteer for the club. So I started practicing with telescope. I conducted sky observation sessions for the club. I went to different schools as a volunteer of the club to present slideshows. Uh, karte karte, by class 12th, when I finished class 12th, I I had decided that I want to do astronomy for my life. It helped the fact that my family has a lot of college teachers. Several of my aunts and both my parents, they're all physics teachers. So in different colleges in Mumbai. So they did not resist my urge to my or my what you can say temptation to go take up research. And then I did BSc, then MSc in physics, and then I went to Germany for uh, PhD in astrophysics. And but at the same time, I knew that I like doing research, but at the same time, I also like teaching. So I was always looking for some opportunity where there will be a lot of teaching involved. And just when I was about to finish my PhD, I heard about HBCSC, which was doing research on how to teach science to school at school level. And I thought this will be ideal opportunity for me. And that is why I came back to HBCSC, joined as a postdoctoral fellow, and then eventually became faculty member at HBCSC.
Thank you for sharing your story, sir.
Yeah, interesting, Aniket. So can you please share a little bit about your family, like your parents, and were you born, something like a little bit about that background as well?
So I briefly mentioned both my parents are physics teachers.
Okay.
And also three of my paternal aunts, in Hindi what we call as Bua. So they are all five. So we have five physics teachers in our family, previous generation. And but in this generation, I'm the only one who has taken up physics. My brother did engineering like many other kids in our age group. Uh, but basically, what I would say is lot of my interests, they were supported by my parents, in the sense that when I became interested in reading at very early age, so they kept buying me books. That time there were no good libraries for younger kids in our area. So buying books which I wanted to read was kind of the only option. So they kept buying books for me to read. Mostly I read Marathi. Then later, I just happened, because I was one of the better students in my school, and my school was not a very big school. It was a Marathi medium school in a suburb of Mumbai. So I just so happened. So school told me to appear for some competitive examination. Till that time, nobody in our family had any idea that I could do how well I may or may not do in any such exam. But because I did well in that first competitive exam, uh, then my mother realized that okay, I may have some potential to do well in this area. So then she took efforts to keep finding new challenges for me every year. Not too much, not 10 exams at a time, but every year something new which I can try on. And she kept cultivating my interest uh, in appearing for competitive exams or appear. So by the time I reached 10th, I got to a stage where I no longer was studying for examinations. I was reading up things which came my way, and it didn't really matter. Okay, tomorrow there is some exam X, doesn't matter. My exam preparation is already done. I'm reading subject Y because right now I want to read that. So, and my parents supported that. Uh, in college, I met my wife actually, and so as I said, I have multiple interests. In a sense, all my life, I have always done all my studies while music plays in the background. I can only concentrate if there is some nice Mohammad Rafi or Kishore Kumar song playing in the background.
Very
So
interesting. Very interesting. Yes.
so when I went to college, I had interest in music. I can't sing obviously, but I have never learned music formally. But I knew a lot of songs and through that connection, I met my wife. She is a professional singer.
Oh, great, great. Yeah, so during those days, you were saying in 1990s. So, yeah, I mean, we also have the program called Mentex, that is basically mentor mentee idea exchange, completely free, open program, pan India. We get lots of applications from the students, school students, and one of the question which we ask in the student the form application form is that which area would you like to work on, for us to decide whom to partner with. So almost all of the students are asking for astrology, astrobiology, astronomy, I mean, I'm sorry, astrology, sorry, astronomy. Yeah, I mean, everybody want to work on astronomy, and unfortunately that curiosity is losing when they become older, because they might have already taken the career prospects and all, and I also, just like you, when I grew up, I was watching this TV in Doordarshan during those days. Yashpal, Professor Yashpal is also a famous astrologer. I mean, astronomers. I keep on changing, confusing these two terms. Astronomer, and that he is also from your institute, isn't it? TIFR. Not sure.
Yes.
Is it from the same Home
Professor
Institute or not?
Yashpal did work at TFR in I think 60s and 70s before he moved on to Delhi and took up more important positions in
Yeah.
DSP and UGC.
Yeah, fantastic. So, yeah, his program, The Turning Point, was one of my favorites. So, my question is that because you are such a voracious reader, you used to read a lot of books, starting in Marathi and then later in English too. So, what are your favorite books, and is there any mentors in your life? And please say some books for in Marathi as well, because we have several viewers from Maharashtra. Yes.
Okay, so but obviously you mentioned Turning Point. I remember many of the episodes of Turning Point. Yashpal, the Professor Naralikar, Girish Karnad, everybody did excellent job with that. Was my if we, all the kids who grew up in those years, they would not forget that show. So it is unfortunate that Doordarshan is not retelecasting those episodes. At least the way that is the way science communication should be done. Anyway, coming back to the question which you asked, uh, obviously, while growing up about astronomy, one of the most prolific authors in Marathi was Professor Jain Narlikar. He he was already writing science fiction stories about various astronomical concepts. And then by the time I reached, I think, class 9th or 10th, but around that time, he had published a 2-volume kind of introductory book on astronomy, again in Marathi. And all these books definitely I read are, at that time. Marathi has a good tradition of science writing. So there have been several more authors like Mohan Apte, for one. He wrote a number of books on science, and so that is one kind of books I definitely read. But if you ask me about my favorite authors, uh, obviously my 80% or maybe, yeah, 80% writing would be reading would be in Marathi. So I would mostly tell you about Marathi authors. Uh, Obviously, most of the kids will say P.L. Deshpande is one name in Marathi which almost everybody reads. But outside that, so early days I read those as well. Pula Deshpande, Visa Walimbe, all these books I read when I was in, these are author names. So I read their books in when I was in school. But towards the end of school, around 9th, 10th class, I started reading further. Uh, there is a lot of different kind of literature, which see P.L. Deshpande wrote uh, about stories or about his experiences which he had growing up in a slightly affluent kind of I would not say affluent, but a middle class, upper middle class kind of home. Uh, so he was not rich, but he was not uh, deprived of any basic needs. So his books talk about that experience. Whereas in 9th, 10th, I started reading things like Zhada Jadti by Vishwas Patil or Baluta by Daya Pawar. These books talk about a different universe. They talk about people who can't even get their basic needs, and the system around them just cha- keeps on pulling them or pushing them further down in the dirt. And those books also had a big impact on the way I started looking at uh, my studies as well as my for the career options.
Good to know, sir. Now I feel like I want to learn Marathi. Anyhow, I'll refer these books to my Marathi speaker friends. So you already stated why you have chosen a career in basic sciences. Do you think, like after this all years, the initial decision was rewarding and satisfying?
Uh, See, I went in stages. I think I mentioned earlier I like many
Yeah.
scholastic subjects. So when I finished class 10, yes, I had interest in astronomy, but I was not sure whether I had more interest in astronomy or more interest in archaeology. So I was not sure whether I should take arts or science. Then I chose science when uh, I decided I don't want engineering, but I will uh, go. Then when I started BSc, I realized the mathematics which I had learned in class 12 is very different from the mathematics which you learned in BSc. And I simply loved that mathematics, the new mathematics which I was seeing in undergraduate years. I also happened to attend a very good summer school for 2 years. It is called MTTS program, Mathematics Training and Talent Search, which is organized by National Board of Higher Mathematics every year since 1993, I think, till today. They have been organizing this summer school every year. So I attended that for 2 years, and that also helped in just uh, bringing out the beauty of mathematics for me. So when it came to third year, where I had to decide my major subject, again I was confused that okay, I like astronomy, but I also like mathematics, and I like the way the mathematics is handled here. So again, it was a tough decision. I finally chose astronomy, but I should tell you that I kept feeling that okay, I like astronomy, but if you choose ask me to choose between pure physics and mathematics, I would probably choose mathematics. So anyway, so after doing my PhD, what I felt was, to be honest, that I would keep doing good science, but that keep doing good science means publishing some papers and things like that. It will be an incremental benefit to the science. But I was not going to be satisfied by just doing some incremental benefits to the body of scientific knowledge. I wanted to do something which would have a larger impact on the system or the society. So I thought that if I can go to the science education field, there's since there's not much work happening in India, there is lot more scope to do something which is truly important and which can have a larger impact. So that is how I changed the path to science education. And this happened 15 years back now. I can say that yes, I'm perfectly happy with the choice I made at that time.
Yeah, fantastic, Niket. It's really interesting to know about your your internal driver for contributing to the society, especially at the grassroots level. Fantastic, your choice and you're contributing to the science education of the country. So while thinking about the science communicators and science communication in general, most of the famous communicators are all astronomers. For example, be it Carl Sagan, very famous astronomer, and of course he's a famous science communicator, Cosmos. I grew up reading that book. Or Neil deGrasse Tyson, or here in India, Professor Yashpal, we were talking about him earlier. What would be the reason why the astronomers are the one which are really into the science communication?
So probably this is because astronomy naturally fascinates most of the students. So even from schools and places like that, there is more demand for astronomy talks. So So at least few astronomers have to learn to communicate with public. So there's so many requests coming to all universities and research institutes that we send some astronomer talk about black holes or something or the other. So probably that is one of the reasons why so many astronomers have also become a public face of science. Uh, Also, probably if you look at the newspapers, the science sections of newspapers, you would really rarely see somebody they reporting something about a new development in chemistry, pure chemistry, or new development in some area of physics which is not which is bit removed from the daily life. But if you give them a new astronomy press release, immediately they will be ready to print. So you also have lot many opportunities where scientists have to come talk to reporters or media persons. So they slowly start developing this skill of how to explain the subject in simpler words. So that is another reason why astronomers become good public communicators.
Yeah,
True,
especially
sir.
I
Well,
read most of this, the science section of the newspaper rigorously for my curiosity episode. And when you see that, the pattern is much more apparent in the Indian Express. So Indian Express Science and Technology is almost 90% of stories about astronomy. Quite interesting stories,
See,
Yeah,
newspapers are giving readers what they think is readers' taste.
exactly.
So if there is natural fascination about astronomy, they will write more about astronomy because that is how they will get their subscribers.
And also there's so many things which we have no clue about, right? How it works. For example, the dark matter, I cannot even imagine what is this something called dark matter, but it fills up almost entire universe, but I have no clue about it, what the dark matter is. And today morning I was reading something about quantum entanglement. At one state of quantum, even if it's in one side to the other side of the universe, still some connection is there. Very interesting, bizarre things, right, in happening in the case of astronomy. Yes.
Yes, they see basically we till 1990s or mid 1990s, so 25 years back, we were in astronomy. We were in a situation that we could observe very little because our telescopes were not powerful enough, and so we had lots of theories that universe may be this, universe may be that. There can be this kind of things happening in galaxies, this kind of things happening inside stars, and our computers were not good enough to run a proper simulation. Our telescopes were not good enough to get enough data because we could only see bright objects. We could not see the very faint objects. In last 25 years, things have changed drastically. So we also have powerful supercomputers, and we also have good telescopes. So suddenly we have an era where you are getting new results almost every week. When I was in school, I was going to this club as a schoolboy. Nobody had heard about any exoplanets. Today we know more than 5,000 of them.
Yes.
So things have changed. Dark energy was completely unknown when I was a schoolboy. Dark energy started becoming part of the common astronomers' knowledge only late 1990s. So things are changing, and that is how what is reflecting in the press releases which you get. There are genuinely good new results happening every week.
Yes, Nitya.
yes, viewers, if you have any questions, please feel free to post in the chat box. So we'll answer them at the end of the session. And sir, what are the qualities of a good science leader in your opinion? And do you have any role models when it comes to science leadership, especially?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Uh, so when we say science leadership, we can think about leadership in different ways. One is obviously uh, academic leadership, where a scientist can command respect of his or her peers by doing excellent work. Second is leadership as a person, so in interpersonal relationships. And third thing is leadership in building institutions. If you look historically, we had we had people like Bhabha who were institution builders. he did a lot of things or on his own initiative. In some sense, you can say he was a good autocrat. He like decided that these things should be done in this way, and he got it done. But as a result, we see lots of institutions built by him. We had excellent scientists like somebody like, let's say, I'm just purposely choosing now people who did not build any institutions, but say people like S.N. Bose. So S.N. Bose, he remained a part of the existing universities for his whole life. But his work was so path-breaking and his insights in science were so important that people respected him. And third group is this people who may not be in top 1%. They are certainly in top 10%, but they may not be in top 1% in academic leadership. But they can mentor new generation of scientists, or when they see good spark in the next generation, they can mentor that person to achieve that his or her potential. People who are not afraid that my junior is brighter than me or my junior is doing better work than me. So it is very difficult to find all three qualities in one person. There will be very few individuals who will be like that. Now, if you ask personally in my life, leaders which I have seen, when I joined HBCSE, we had a center director, Professor Arvind Kumar. He was a kind of, I would say, my role model, what a good institute director should be. So he was a brilliant physicist. At the same time, he was an excellent teacher. And he had this, he knew how to handle people. In any institute, there will be a whole spectrum of people with different personalities and different attitudes. He knew how to handle them. And he also had this ability that if he decides that some program X is good for the institute, it doesn't matter if nobody else is interested, but if he truly believes that program should be done, he will make sure that program is done. And because he is working, everybody around him will be inspired to contribute. He did not assign work to people and he just watch away from his seat. He was the first one to get in the work, and then others just came and helped him. So that is a kind of leadership role model I would always like to talk about.
Thank you for sharing, sir. And the examples are very realistic, and the senior ones, junior ones, I can still connect with my college also. Thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, Aniket. So, a few years back, I read a book called Homo Deus by Yuval Harari. Yuval Noah Harari. So, in that book, he was saying like libertarianism or liberalism or nationalism, any kind of isms are all kinds of religion. It's just another name of religion, ideological identity. And because people fight for it, like communism. Of course, people do fight political propagandization, and because of politics, they fight for it. And recently, a trend has come in the social media too, that people start calling scientists as blind followers of a cult group. So people started saying that the scientists, we guys, are also ardent followers of a religion. Do you agree with that statement? What are your thoughts about it?
Basically, what Harari has said has some merit in the sense that there are many followers of science. I would not say leading scientists, but there are many followers of science who are fanatical about science. That in the many laypersons who are supporters of science, they just don't even properly understand what they are supporting, but they just say, okay, science, so it has to be correct. If it is not science, it is not correct. So that kind of fanaticism is also wrong. But the science, on the other hand, the distractors of science, when they say that science is also becoming like cult and peer, So that kind of allegation is also not correct. See, we should, I also do some work on history of astronomy in India. And there this problem also appears very often, that people who want to believe in glorious ancient past, they would not care for evidence. Whereas there are, at the other end, there are some people who would not even care to find the genuine things from our history. So we have to be somewhere in the middle. What I always tell people, that if you have open mind, you should not be afraid of going along any path where evidence leads you. Even if that evidence is telling you to go follow a path which is completely counterintuitive, completely against everything you know, you should not be afraid of following that path. But if you are deciding path beforehand, and then starting to pick evidence along the way, then that is where you leave science and start becoming a cult. So you
Yes. Yeah, yes, exactly. I think that point has been emphasized by Gandhi. Gandhiji's quote is that civilization is the encouragement of difference. So, that is your favorite quote too. And yes, I have seen your YouTube video on Vedic mathematics. Excellent video, Aniket. I strongly suggest everybody to please have a look. I will link it up in the show notes of this video. That particular, Aniket's opinion on what this Vedic mathematics is all about. Please have a look. Okay, so yeah, over to Nitya.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So, based on the previous question, I would like to know what is your opinion? What are some good aspects of religion, if at all there exists any?
okay? So personally speaking, as far as my personal life is concerned, religion has no place in it. Okay, because when I look at the life, I don't see why I need some additional entity who is controlling my life in any way. But at the same time, our constitution allows freedom of religion to every individual. So if I believe in constitution, I have to also respect, in a democracy, others' right to follow some religion in their home.
Yes.
What I cannot accept is they enforcing their beliefs on me, and or they taking their beliefs and applying it in a public space. So if in their home they want to worship some god or goddess or whatever, or like me, they want to exercise their right not to have any religion, that is their right. But if you do public displays of pujas or some other festivals, or start hanging any religious symbols in your office, which is a public space, then you start having problems. And people who are public personalities, they have to be extremely careful about this. And not just scientists have to be extra careful, but even other fields. If some sportsman goes and prays at the feet of some Baba, then the fans of sportsmen get that message. Same goes for politicians. Same goes for film stars.
Yes.
And scientists have to be even extra careful, because when ISRO's head takes some replicas of satellites to some Baba or some temple, then you are saying that you don't believe in your own rockets, you don't believe in your own satellites, that you need those blessings to make them succeed. That is sending very wrong message. Even being head of ISRO, you can worship any god, but do it in your home. Please don't do it when you are head of ISRO.
Yes, very kind of natural, and it happens, and we come across such situations every day. Over to Felix.
Yeah, Aniket, do you consider that the reality, the objective reality, exists outside of the human consciousness? For example, what are your thoughts about this debate, objectivity and neutrality? One example would be like, one guy is saying like, let us teach flat earth theory too in the school alongside the round earth theory for the sake of ensuring neutral point of view, the wiki style neutral point of view or balanced presentation. In fact, the Wikipedia is also not following that extreme neutrality. Of course they go with objectivity, but still many people say that you need to be balanced. So let us also call the pseudoscience alongside the real scientists. What is your take on this?
Okay, so as you correctly said, there are some people who take this view. Maybe I would call it postmodernist view, that there is nothing is objective. Everything is through somebody's lived experience and everything. So even same thing will apply to flat earth. So for example, I have read some educational literature where argument has been made that yes, earth is round, fine, but for outside a group of very small number of individuals, for maybe 90% of the population, they would never encounter a situation where they would realize that earth is round. Their all lived experience shows that there is a flat ground around us. So does it really matter if they know earth is round or not? That is the kind of argument I have read in literature. So now how to answer this? There have been obviously critics presented by more bigger experts than me. So I would not try to pretend that I know the final answer about how to counter argue this. But let's look at it like this. When you are talking about putting something in a textbook, you're talking about young kids below age of say 12, 13, or because flat earth round, those things kind of come at class 3, 3rd, 4th. Even if you take the famous US examples of evolution, even that is typically in middle school, class 5, 6, 7, where they first introduce the idea about evolution, that there is some uh, age of earth and evolution thing like that. Or another big thing in India, astrology. Again, those arguments you can address by at class 8th level. It is not there in syllabus currently, but we can address those arguments at class 8th, 9th level. So these are the kids who are at impressionable age. So if you just say that there is theory A and there is theory B, you decide on your own based on the evidence which theory you want to support. You're being a bit dishonest. See, you know very well that they are kids who may not be in position to make informed decisions. That is why we don't even allow them to vote. So government recognizes that people below age of 18 are not eligible to vote because they can't make sound decisions. They can't be prosecuted for any crimes they may commit because they are impressionable age, so they will be influenced by the people who around them. So if you just say that these two theories exist, now you decide, that is not enough. You have to also present that, see, there is 99% people, not 99.99% scientists who believe in theory A. Yet there is this 0.01% group who wants to talk about theory B. So that additional information also has to be part of the package. Then you can expect that, okay, some discussion can happen. See, every week we get some random letters from random people who claim to have discovered some new theory, disproving Einstein, disproving somebody else, creating some new lasers. Man has not landed on moon. Many things. We get random unsolicited letters like that. Do we want to include all of these in the curriculum? How do we stop?
Yeah, excellent point. I was just, I forgot the name of the scientist. I think, yeah, I was just searching out. Sudarshan. Sudarshan came to US a few years back. He disproved Einstein and he got Padma Award too, right? Have you read his paper? What is your take on it?
I don't remember this.
Okay, over to Nitya. Would you like to ask?
Yes, yes, sir. So if you remember, Bruno once famously said that truth does not change because it is or is not, and it's believed by a majority of the people. So do you believe in a democracy based on consensus of opinion?
Yeah. So Bruno is obviously a few hundred years back.
Yeah,
Even till 1990s, I would have probably said that I agree. Not because I was young, but till 1990s, the situation around us was different. So my argument, I will present my argument, and you may decide whether you agree with this or not. Uh, Till 1990s, when there was just two news channels or two TV channels, at majority of our information came from newspapers and this Doordarshan. There was no cable TV, or some people had some access to BBC or something like that. BBC radio, not TV channel, but BBC radio. Uh, so those are where our sources of information. There was a lot of editorial oversight in each of these channels. Newspapers, there were very reputable news editors. Doordarshan obviously was handled properly in by the government. That they, maybe they went to overcautious mode, but say newspapers or BBC, they never say sent out any information which was unverified or no misinformation ever came from these sources. Okay, and people actually, if they gave a wrong news by chance, the reporter and editor would feel ashamed that okay, we made a huge mistake. Now post 1990, things have changed completely. First internet came and email forward started coming. Then after that, this WhatsApp forward started coming, and WhatsApp for you started getting loads of information reaching to masses without any editorial oversight. I thought of something, I will just type and say forward to 15 people. And then those 15 people will forward 15 people each, and we in no time the message is viral. So now we have reached to a situation, we are living in an era where misinformation is probably more powerful than the correct information. And now we have to rethink all our previous wisdom about how the majority would always reach the right decision. Because earlier the majority opinions were shaped by the information available to them, which was through newspapers and books and things like that. Nowadays, majority is shaping their opinion through WhatsApp. So I don't have a solution how to correct this situation, but definitely the previous model of how majority reaches the correct decision, that model is completely broken and it needs fixing. Otherwise, majority cannot be trusted to make sound decisions about when it comes to science.
Yeah, excellent point, Aniket. Especially you said about the trusted sources. Even today, like BBC or New York Times, here in India, the Hindu, publishing the fake news are highly unlikely, right? So if you compare that with the WhatsApp, which you said.
Several new news portals, Quint, Boom Live, Wire, these people are doing excellent job of fact checking. But you see our country is in a situation where majority or a large number of people have smartphones, but they use smartphone only for WhatsApp or Facebook. They don't actually go to any of these news sites and read that. So we have to go beyond the news channel, news sites, and do something more for them to get the correct message.
Yeah, excellent. So, I was also living in Mumbai for almost 2 years. I was in Powai, IIT Bombay, and I was doing PhD. Then I had to quit. Ultimately, I went to Japan to finish my PhD. So when I was in Powai, I used to go to the nearby suburb. There is a very famous, it's a luxury real estate area called Hiranandani Gardens, and over there, it's a gated community. It's a fantastic, it's a super luxury, isn't it? And I mean, by now, like everywhere in Delhi, NCR, or Bangalore, you can see lots and lots of the super luxury apartments. And people who drive by the Mercedes Benz hardly interact with the outside world. They are living in their filter bubbles. I had been to Pondicherry also. Pondicherry has got Auroville, the spiritual hub. Of course, inside Auroville, it's fantastic. But the moment you set your foot in the streets of Pondicherry, you will realize the stark contrast. So my question to you is that again, this Facebook, you see the Facebook, whatever the feed which comes to on my my feed would be entirely different from what you see in your feed, isn't it? So it's like an echo chamber, emphasizing on my point of view. So it's a confirmation bias is blown up beyond any imaginable sense because of this echo chambers and filter bubbles. So what is actually your thought on this artificial intelligence controlling a lot of our media and our lives?
You're right. If you, I don't know if any of our viewers have seen this docudrama called Social Dilemma, which was released on Netflix a few months back. So this talks about how this social media is responds to our engagement with social media, and how they curate our feed individually. So this problem exists in the sense, I have, let's say, 2,000 friends on Facebook, because I have that much network, or maybe I just accept everybody's friend request when I get whatever. But obviously, if each of them posts one update per day, when I open Facebook once in a day, I should see 2,000 updates. Obviously, I don't see that. And I don't see that. I only see about 10, 15, maybe 20 of different updates based on Facebook's analysis of which were the last stories on Facebook where I spent some time. What they ultimately want you to spend as much time on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever, as much time as possible. So if yesterday I spent some 10 minutes reading 2 stories by Felix, they will show me more stories by Felix. But if there was a story by Nitya and I just scrolled up, I did not pay attention to that story, Facebook will stop showing me stories from Nitya. So I will not see the updates there. That is the way all social media works. And yes, as you say, it creates echo chambers. How to break those echo chambers? Obviously, we are in some sense hostage to social media, so we can't completely overcome their restrictions. But what we can do is we can subvert the system. In a sense, for example, if I want to know what the other side thinks, like if there is some controversy happening, some viral videos or some pseudoscience information is going around, and I want to know how people are reacting to that. So I have also in my mind a list of people who typically share these things. So I make it a point to check their social media feeds by explicitly searching for them. Once I search that, then the AI thinks that I am actually interested in them. So they start showing me those feeds. Similarly, when I want people to read something particularly important, and if they engage on my post in some way, either by liking or commenting or whatever, I make sure I reply to those comments. Not because I'm perturbed by what they said, or even if they shouted at me or whatever. Not because they are I'm perturbed by them, but if I reply and again they reply back, their engagement with my post increases, which means they will see more of my post when they come to Facebook next time. So that is one way. So that is one way you can subvert the system in digital world. Now coming back to the physical world. So as you said, there are gated communities where people live lives of privilege, and they don't even understand what is happening around them. So it is easy to sit inside your home and say, okay, restaurants are closed, home deliveries are not happening, so I'm feeling little bit inconvenienced, and not realizing that those waiters in the restaurants are losing their jobs. They don't have enough to eat at home. They're walking back home. You never realize that. You are just only concerned about, okay, I'm not getting home delivery of my food. So that is also another kind of echo chamber. Obviously, I would not say I'm saint. I also did not realize these things as sharply in my earlier avatar as a student, and then astronomy PhD student. But once I came to the area of science education, then after reading that literature and after actually going to the field work, I started realizing that even what we think as education is not very homogeneous. The solutions which we need for very different stratas of society and things like, it is easy for us to sit and decide, okay, in curriculum we need X, Y, Z. Because when I was student, I always wanted to learn about astrophysics. I always wanted to learn about genetics in class 11, 12. I always wanted to learn more about organic chemistry. It is easy to say, but think about people, and there are so many students even today who are first generation learners, and for them these kind of things, when they are part of a common curriculum with the compulsory subjects, they're extremely difficult, and they don't have anybody to in their home who can explain this to them. They don't have anybody, their parents can't afford extra tuition classes. So by adding such advanced topics to common curriculum, maybe we are preparing some few upper middle class students for a better, they're getting better prepared for taking up going to primary institutes. But what we are doing to the remaining 90% of the children, we have to really think about that.
Yeah, very important, very pertinent point. I think that Esther Dufflo and Abhijit Banerjee also has published a paper on these lines, that Indian education, especially, I think, I don't know where exactly, I think they did a study in Kerala also, that they found that, our education, the syllabi, the teachers are more under pressure to complete the syllabi, and our curricular system is more concentrated on the top people, rather than leveling up the bottom strata. That I think we really need to work on these points in our, it should be the vision of the government.
I will give you one example, very interesting example. So presently, the Maharashtra State Board textbooks for mathematics, uh, Professor Mangala Narlikar, Professor Jay Narlikar's wife, she is the chair of the textbook committee. Last year, they made a big change in class second grade textbook. What they did, so in Marathi, we say numbers like 41, 42, 42, 43, like Hindi. So 41, 42, 43, like we say in Hindi. So 41, 42, 43. So here the unit place digit comes first, एक और उसके बाद 40. The tens place digit comes after that. Whereas in English we say 41. The order is the other way. While writing, we first write 4 and then we write 1. So when we are telling students write 4 as tens place, then 1, and while talking the numbers, we are saying 41 or 41. It is a jump for students who are not used to this. Obviously, people whose parents are also educated, for them it doesn't really matter, because that is the way everything, and they can easily adjust. They can make that mental mapping very easily. But for many students, for tribal students, and this is a big challenge. So what the state board did in textbooks, they wrote the numbers in two ways. First they gave the number in numerals, 41. Then they wrote 41. So they explained how the number is done, 41, and then the regular name in Marathi, 41. But there was a lot of controversy on this. Many people from upper middle class who didn't realize the purpose of behind this, they were complaining that you're diluting mathematics. Our children will be left behind if you start doing this. This is not the way to do mathematics and so on. And the textbook committee faced a lot of flack for no reason. There was perfectly good reason why they were doing it, but nobody cared. They just went by their own lived experiences and decided that this is not proper.
Yeah, yeah. Very interesting point. When you were saying, I was thinking about my own language in Malayalam, and yeah, we follow the English style, 40 and 1, 41, that, 41. So again, when you were talking, yes, I was thinking about the puritanism. These are all linguistic puritanism. You mix your class privilege into the puritanical way. That is, it has been documented even in the Britain, the class struggle in the linguisticism. Yeah, so I was thinking in the Malayalam also, we have something called Pacha Malayalam. Pacha Malayalam means a pure Malayalam, which is having the Dravidian influence, which is a pure typical Malayalam. But that is kind of looked at by the aristocrats, because aristocrats want to mix Sanskrit in it. And nowadays, if you want, I mean, the top publication in Malayalam is called Madhrubhumi Archapadi, the weekly, illustrated weekly. So the kind of articles that you read, a lot of Sanskrit mix in it. It's not pure Malayalam, because unless you mix a little bit Sanskrit, then it's not profound. You see, that is a class struggle in language. Very interesting observation. Yeah, Aniket. Nitya.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, this is a question I thought of asking once to the God, and next time it was Sadhguru. And now I got the opportunity to ask you. And I go with the question. The question is, what are your thoughts on the caste-based reservation? And should it end one day? And if yes or no, when would that be?
See, there are many people who argue that this caste reservation has overlived its utility and things like that.
Yeah.
But let us look at the problem in this way. We know that all of us are same human species. If all of us really had equal footing to start with, what you would expect that in a random selection of population, so if you go take admissions to some engineering college or some medical college or any other admission for that matter, you would expect, if there is a large number, like IIT for entrance, for example, selects more than 10,000 people, which is a fairly large number. So statistically, you would expect that the percentages of different castes in that sample of 10,000 should be similar at least to the Indian population. They may not be exactly same, because any sample is not exact replication of the population, but it will be fairly similar, and 10,000 is big number for that. But is it happening? That is not happening. Obviously, if you just keep so-called merit as a criteria, then only a much smaller percentage of people who from so-called scheduled class, scheduled tribes or other backward castes are getting selected. So what is happening? We know that the sample which we have got is not representative of population. You can have many reasons why it is not representative of population. One reason is either still opportunities are not equal. Other reason is that your definition of merit is flawed. Like, for example, what Felix was just saying earlier, the colloquial Malayalam versus pure Malayalam. So same thing happens in science as well, but we don't realize that. We want in our board exams students to write the definitions and derivations in this particular way, show with this proper English, and the marks for the if there are too many so-called grammatical mistakes in English, there will be marks cut for that, or all that thing. So given this kind of definition of merit, or this kind of checks which will ensure you good marks, only people people who have educated parents and grandparents in their home have a very big advantage, and a kind of, you can say, a handicap to score much better marks in any of our exams as compared to people who are coming from a very different background.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So given this, obviously our idea of merit is flawed, and till we fix that, or till somehow we automatically reach to a stage that if our any such sample of so-called meritorious students or may automatically start representing our Indian population in similar percentages, till that situation arises, we have to have affirmative action programs, and they have to be caste based, because it is the caste which is pulling these people down. We look at, maybe in cities you don't see caste over in your face. Like, you may not ask caste of a shopkeeper, but check matrimonial columns. The caste is very much present in cities as well. People are not ready to marry in so-called lower castes. They don't care how well the groom or bride is, how well qualified, how well read, or whatever. If they are from so-called lower class caste, good luck to them. They will not find their matching spouses. Same thing, and if you go to villages, things are much worse. We have not progressed much from where we were 100 years back. So till we drastically see improvement in this, the reservations have to continue for foreseeable future.
Yeah, excellent point, Aniket. And you have said about affirmative action in the US too. The reservation is, I mean, many people say reservation is only, it's an artifact of India, which is incorrect. Many countries have got some parallelism to the reservation too. And yeah, so, there is, I recently listened to the Sam Harris. Sam Harris is a philosopher, making a podcast. Yeah, I listened to point of views. One of the point of view that he was saying is that the inheritance is the root cause of many of the problems that democracy is having. People are corrupt because they want to have a huge money in their bank to give away to their kids. So virtually the kids are born in such a lots of cash. So according to him, for democracy to be functional, he's arguing that the intergenerational wealth transfer should cease. Whatever money that I earn is only for me. So, I mean, of course, I have to educate my kids. Only up to that, only up to the level that they are out of the school. And after that, they should be their own. And whatever the money that I have, if I die, all money should go back to the government for, their actions and other things. So do you agree with that kind of, I'm sure it's a very bizarre proposal. Entire savings should go back to government, not to your kids. Do you agree with that? But I think it has got some plus points too, isn't it, if you think about it?
Yeah, probably this proposal sounds very extreme, but yes, you can see the spirit of that idea, that when you give throw a lot of money at somebody who is not ready to handle that money, then obviously you will see a lot of bad things happening. And if you want to see example of this, people keep saying that reservation is killing the merit and so on. What they should check is the cutoffs of so-called NRI quota and management quota of all these engineering and medical admissions. They are much lower than any of the cutoffs for OBC or SC or ST. And these are not people from OBC, SC or ST groups. They are from so-called upper caste, but they are still getting in the same colleges by throwing money. And nobody says merit is getting killed by money. People only say merit is getting killed by the caste.
Excellent. So I have a related question about egalitarianism. So what are your thought about Sci-Hub? Sci-Hub has come in news recently. It is about the paper sharing. That site. So do you consider that the knowledge should be completely free and journal articles should be completely open access and free? Free in the sense no one is paying either at the publishing or for downloading. To publish, APC should be completely waived, and for downloading also should be completely free. Like the Sci-Hub, we can download any kind of articles for free. So, but many people think that these are illegal, and these are like it's illegal. Yeah, what is your take on this issue?
So there are a couple of things. Sci-Hub case came into prominence recently, but the astronomy and theoretical physics community has been doing something like that for last 20 years or more than that. So archives started in late 90s, where people just put their preprints on the server even before they are published in the journal. And no journal in astronomy or in theoretical physics or theoretical computer science objects why you have put the preprint on the server, which is for free downloading. It is not exactly the same copy as the journal paper. Maybe it is bit badly formatted and things like that. But you get to read the content. You get to see all the evidence which is presented in the paper. So that model was adopted by physics groups much before. So now, obviously, coming from that point of view, if you ask any astronomer or theoretical physicist, they will always say that open access. Why there is fuss about open access? It has to be open access. See, authors are not paying. So authors don't get paid for writing an article. Reviewers don't get paid for reviewing that article. So why pay $35 per article? Where is all that money going to? Okay, journals may argue that we need to maintain some website or whatever, or print some copy. Printed copies, going to libraries, they are already giving you subscription. E-copies, so surely your expenses are not of the order of $35 per copy. See, this is classic mistake which music industry did in early 2000s. When the MP3 started becoming common, they start earlier the model was this CDs, and then the music labels will give you high quality CDs and ultra high quality CDs, and for 10 songs you would have to pay 1,000 rupees. When MP3 started appearing, and obviously people started bootlegging MP3s on different things. I don't know if today's kids have heard about Napster or those kind of things. Then yes, I think probably they would have heard about Pirate Bay at least. So those things started appearing. Why? Because the prices being charged by the industry were at the time were unreasonable. Music piracy went down not because music industry was able to crack down on all the illegal servers, but because they started charging much more reasonably per track basis. I think most of the tracks are less than $1 kind of, and in US less than $1 is nothing. So since that legal music became affordable, illegal piracy automatically went down. So if people who oppose Sci-Hub, they think that by going to court and trying to suppress that, they can stop this exchange of knowledge. They're wrong. If Sci-Hub shuts, something else will pop up, and it will continue. And obviously, everybody in the science field knows that authors are authorized to share preprints of their work if somebody asks by email, free of charge. What Sci-Hub was doing was just putting the entire script on the website. But if somebody starts making a big index, that if you want to read articles on this subject, these are the relevant articles, and start giving email address of authors. There is nothing that journals can do to prevent people from contacting authors and getting the copies free. So journals have to come out of this mindset of making huge profits out on research. Be reasonable. They have a scope, even commercial scope in the future as well.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for sharing such optimistic views on the question, sir. So, can you briefly tell us like what you do at HBSC and what are the life opportunities for youngsters at your institute?
So HBCSC I will say was, because now last 5 years new institutes have come which have of similar profile. But HBCSC was a unique concept in Indian academia, where the center was devoted to do research on uh, how to teach science and mathematics. Okay, so there are universities which are teaching science and mathematics. There are research institutes which are doing research on science and mathematics. This is the third group. We are doing research on how to teach. And what you mean by doing research on how to teach? There are two kinds of research questions which you can think of. First research question: why certain topic is difficult to teach or difficult to learn? So maybe the way it is, it is very difficult to visualize. Maybe it is too advanced for that age. So maybe it is just, that means it is just presented at the wrong age group. Maybe if you would have put it different age group, it would be different. And the second research question is, for the same topic with the same treatment at the same classroom, same teacher, same textbooks, why some students pick it up much better than others, and some students are not able to follow it at all. So why there is this discrepancy in academic achievement within the same setup? Now, so these are the broad ideas. Under that, you can choose a specific topic and then work on that specific topic. The second question, you can again look at different reasons. You can think how maybe the way of thinking process of different students is different. Some think more visually, some think more mathematically, some like to read more words. The different kinds of ways in which students try to understand. So maybe that is one reason. Maybe their backgrounds is a reason. Whether they're getting support at home is another reason. Whether the teaching style is suitable to different students is another reason. So these are the kind of things which we work on. We have a PhD program every year. We take very few students because our center is a small place. We have about 20 faculty members. So we, on an average, make 4 or 5 PhD student fellowships every year. And there we do, our students do research on these, choose one of these topics and do research. We also have somebody working in cognitive science. So looking at these problems of science and mathematics education from cognitive science point of view. Somebody looks at it from a sociology point of view. In addition to that, HBCSC is also involved in creating materials, educational materials, which can be used by students, teachers. And we are also heavily involved in what we call as impact programs, the kind of projects which will immediately have a short-term big impact on the Indian education system. It can be conducting Olympiads, for example. Okay, Olympiads, at the end, only 5 students go and represent India per subject. But for that 5 students, we train 50 students in the pre-penultimate stage. So these 50 students get to learn about research in that area. Going one step before that, our written exam, they challenge students, see if you want to really do something in that subject, this is the level which you should achieve. So that becomes a benchmark for a much larger group of students. So that is how you can have a short-term impact on the education system. Otherwise, what happens is education research, you present your research and then the research is picked up by the curriculum developers. It's a very long timeline. So you have to do both. You have to inform, you have to do short-term impact programs where things will at least change in some way in short term. At the same time, you have to keep informing your short-term impact program by a long-term research. That is how we do. We don't have undergraduate or postgraduate program. We only have PhD program. So we allow people with any BSc, MSc, or also MA in certain domains like psychology or education. If you are MA in that, even those students we allow to join for PhD.
Yeah, so when you were saying about this, differential learning curve of various students, very interesting. I was thinking about Noam Chomsky and his universal grammar and generative grammar. So what is your take on this nature versus nurture argument? Do you think this learning is as an innate ability of a student, at least to a certain level, or it is a nurture, that the way that the students grow up, you can actually train the student immaterial of its genes? What is your take on this?
So this is a question which can never be settled. Why? Because when you talk about somebody having innate ability or somebody showing some aptitude, but that student has already come to you at the age of 6. In first 6 years of his or her life, they have received lot many inputs. Okay, like they can be very direct or indirect inputs. If my son is listening to my wife practicing music every day in my home, I should not be surprised that if he starts showing aptitude in music at the age of 10 or 12. Okay. Now, so unless you design this kind of inhuman experiment where you can separate uh, some n number of infants from their parents right after their birth, and then have divided in two groups of experiment and control group, and see how different, whether there is a difference in their aptitudes in the long run. That kind of experiment obviously can't be allowed on human subjects. Unless you do that, you can never know that whether the aptitude which you are seeing is part of nurture or not. So everything you can show that, okay, this person is like a child prodigy or something like that. If you dig that person's history enough, you may still point out to some instances in his or her life that, see, these instances may be the proof of nurture that person received. So it can never be proven that something is some aptitude or some is natural or innate.
Yes, Nitya.
Yes, we have certain questions in the YouTube chat here. So many of the viewers have wished you and thank you for the wonderful program, sir. So we have a question from Chinmay here. So the question that she asked is how to choose some specific research interest in astronomy to study, as there is a lot of studies going on in every domain, and how to select and assimilate to an extent of all this in your study.
So if you are interested in astronomy, again, when I was in school, I was generally interested in sky and optical astronomy. I did not know too much about non-optical astronomy much or theoretical astrophysics
Okay.
much. So obviously, most of the people have curiosity about, okay, I want to use telescope, I want to take pictures or things like that. That is
Yes, sir.
natural. But basically, as you start going through your early education, then you start developing interest in particular physical concepts, and then you will end up choosing topic which suits your interest. For that, the important factor is, one, you should not over specialize too early. There is no need to start doing BSc in astrophysics or MSc in astrophysics. You can do BSc or MSc in physics and then switch to astrophysics at PhD level as well. There is no hurry to over specialize. I have a classmate. I have a classmate from IIT who came to MSc thinking that he will do astrophysics. But after coming there, joining MSc, he heard about bosons and condensation. Till that time, till BSc, we had not heard about that. And then he liked that area so much, so he went in that. So your interest will keep evolving. Don't just be set about this is exactly what I want to do.
Okay, sir. I hope your question is answered, Chinmay. And we have one more question from Simran Gupta, sir. So, please shed some light on the field of astrobiology and opportunities associated with this field in India and abroad. And also, please recommend some good sources to collect information regarding the same.
So, astrobiology is a very recent field. There are a couple of places in India which are just trying to develop those departments. I would not say that there are well-set departments in India at the moment. Maybe in 5 years, there would be. But right now, these places are in just initial steps. So, if you ask me right now, is there a world-class department in India on astrobiology? No. Maybe in few years, yes. In 3-4 years, you will find some nice group, because one person doesn't make a department. You need to have a good group to discuss and discuss different ideas. So 2-3 different faculty members, their postdocs, PhD students, that makes a good group. That kind of group still doesn't exist in India at this moment. Now, what you do in the astrobiology, you can do many things. One traditional part always has been that the kind of effect on humans and other mammals and bacteria when they go to space. So if you spend a lot of time in space, your muscles starts withering down because there is less gravity there. Muscular atrophy is a common thing. If you say spend all long, and now if US is saying they want to send astronauts to Mars, where each way journey is at least 9-10 months, and then after that there the gravity on surface of Mars is also less than half of Earth, and again coming back for journey is some 10 months. So in such situation, these issues start becoming important. So this is the one kind of biology research relevant to astronomy. They also effect on plants in different environments, because on Mars you are not going to get exactly same atmosphere as Earth. So what kind of plants will grow, what kind of bacteria can survive, how we can make enough resources in different places to have a colony. That is one kind of research. Second, obviously, research is that we are discovering new exoplanets every week. We are just getting information about what kind of atmospheres they have, what kind of temperatures they have. We are nowhere close to the situation where we can actually image those exoplanets. But based on the temperature range, based on the atmospheres, which molecules can be found in the atmospheres, can we make prediction about if there will be biological life, what kind of biological life will be there? That is another kind of research related to astrobiology. Those are the kind of things which are typically studied. There are very number of groups in US as well as in Europe who are working on these issues.
I hope Simran finds this useful and she may share with the peer groups. And let's take a final question, sir. That is from Shubhangi Sharma. And she asks, sir, can you please elaborate on astrochemistry?
Okay. So, astrochemistry, when we talk about astrochemistry, we are talking about going beyond the normal chemical elements. So, all stars have this different elements: hydrogen, helium, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen.
Yes.
And then even if you look at the gas between the stars, then those will also have these elements. But this elementary these chemical elements is not what we call as astrochemistry. when we start studying the uh, gas between the stars, what we call interstellar matter and intergalactic matter, where new stars are born, and around them planets are born, we are increasingly finding more and more complex molecules through spectroscopy. So, studying these complex molecules is what astrochemistry is about. There are good people again working in this area, good individuals in India. They're in process of developing groups. So there is no established astrochemistry group as such, but there are many good individuals in different institutes.
Okay,
And do
so
you suggest any good authentic sources on astrochemistry, sir?
I'm not aware of ready-made book.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Phyllis, you were saying something?
yeah, so I have a question here from Goswami from Assam. Goswami is asking, how about astrology? What is your take on astrology?
So as I have said earlier, we should be open to go where the evidence takes us. But that doesn't mean that we should keep believing in something and try to find some evidence. Astrology has been subjected to a number of statistical tests in the past 50 years, both in India and in US. You can read a current science article by Professor Naralikar and Dr. Narendra Dabolkar, uh, which was about 18 years back, I think 2002 or 2003, in current science, where they did a test on astrologers in India. Similar tests have also happened in US, in Sri Lanka, many places. And all these places, they have all these results have clearly shown that astrology doesn't work. Okay, and that is the statistical evidence. But think about it logically. Like, suppose in my house, I am there, my wife is there, my son is there. Now, imagine there is this great planet Jupiter, which is billions of miles away from us. From there, Earth appears like a dot. So now Jupiter has to decide, okay, there is a blue dot there in the vast darkness. That blue dot is Earth. On that blue dot, there is even a smaller dot, that is India. Inside that, there is even smaller dot, that is city of Mumbai. Inside that, there is a smaller dot, that is suburb of Chembur. Inside that, there is this small dot, even smaller dot, that is there, that apartment. Now there are three people. Now I'm going to check each of their birth date, and I'm going to exert different kind of force based on their birth date. And I'm going to do this for each and every individual. Does it even sound logical? So you don't even need a hi-fi physics or to understand that this all astrology is humbug.
Excellent. I have another question from Kriti Gupta. Kriti is asking, can you elaborate some astronomy festivals or astronomy related Olympiads where Indian students can participate, school students?
So India does have uh, Indian National Astronomy Olympiad, which happens every year at the beginning of year. So, for example, and it is for students up to class 12th. So, students in uh, class 10 to 12 uh, can participate, and typically they should know uh, physics and mathematics up to class 12th. We don't expect them to know too much astronomy because we know that there is not much astronomy in the syllabus. So, uh, if they are well familiar with this physics and maths up to class 12, then that should be typically enough to appear for the exam. And so every year the cycle is like this. Every year, that is pre-pandemic time. Uh, the registration happens between 15th August and 15th September each year. And the first round examination, which is multiple choice, happens in November. But last year, obviously, because of pandemic, entire timetable was disrupted. We don't know how we will handle the timetable issues this year because pandemic keeps evolving. In March, we were feeling okay, next year cycle will be normal cycle. Then the second wave happened. Now we have to reconsider exactly whether we will be normal enough in November to conduct a regular type exam or not. So things will keep evolving. You please visit HBCSC website, hbcsc.tfr.res.in. We will keep updating you as we decide how we will handle our Olympiads for next year.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. So I hope we can end the session with the one last question. And what is your key message to young scientists of the country, sir?
See, I don't know. I'm not old enough to give message and all those things. But one person I am deeply inspired by is somebody called Dr. Narendra Dabholkar. Dr. Narendra Dabholkar was a rationalist in Maharashtra. He was running a group called Maharashtra Andhashraddha Nirmulan Samiti. And on 20th August 2013, he was assassinated by some conservatives, right-wing conservatives, who didn't like his anti-superstition work. They thought it is anti-religion. So till that time, my own science or my science education related work was in a shell, in a cocoon. I didn't really care about making my voice known to a larger public. I was doing work, I was happy with it. But after that day, I thought that we have, if we want an India which has to honor and respect science and nationalism, we can't keep quiet. We have to keep making clear that what happened to Dr. Dabholkar cannot happen to anybody else. We won't accept that, and that will be made clear to these perpetrators only if we all stand up and speak openly. So don't think that the fight against pseudoscience and irrationality is something which is not which should not bother you. You don't think that you will remain happy in your cocoon of research institutes. If we don't do anything soon, then sooner or later it will end up at your doorstep. You will be dictated what kind of research you are allowed to do and you're not allowed to do. You will be dictated what kind of results are welcome and not welcome. If you don't want that to happen, you have to participate. You have to stand up in this fight against irrationality.
Yeah, thanks for that wonderful input. Really interesting. And yeah, you said about double last year I by Anand Kapoor. Available on the YouTube. I'm linking up in soon also for the viewers to have a look. Discover more about Babur and his life as a student for popularizing science. So the has been linked up in the YouTube. And yes, Aniket, thanks about it's already 1.5 hours. We have you with us in academy, and we hope that you will continue your spirit on science communication and at the grassroots level science education. Yes. And yeah, the solstice is coming, right? June solstice is already a few weeks ahead now. 21st of June. What is the plan? Do you have any activity?
I didn't catch the last bit. Your voice is breaking up.
June solstice, 21st June is coming up, right? So only a few weeks now, do you have any plans, special plans, very important astronomical?
So what we do every year between March to June is we celebrate Zero Shadow Day at different locations in the southern India. As you know that as sun goes from in front of equator to the Tropic of Cancer, so on different days at different latitudes there will be your shadow will disappear at noon. So that is a zero shadow day. So as we go from equinox to solstice, whichever location has zero shadow day, we celebrate it there, and that activity goes on every year.
Fantastic.
And if the students want to know about this, they can just go to Google Play Store, and there is a Zero Shadow Day app, which is developed by Astronomical Society of India. It is free for use, so you can check when is Zero Shadow Day at your location.
Fantastic. So
great.
it's like solstice for year
Yes,
year
sir.
long, isn't it? So I guess my understanding is by this Zero Shadow Day will fall on the solstice at exactly 23.5 degrees, right? On the solstice.
Yeah, on solstice day it will be at 23.45 degrees north.
Excellent. Thanks, and please take care of yourself. And yeah, my best
Thanks for
wishes
having
to.
having me.
Thank you, Nitya, too. Take care.
Thank you, sir.